Powell is surrounded by around a dozen wolves. They're sizing him up as a potential meal. What the wolves don't know is Powell's wondering if wolves are good to eat. Powell figures as soon as he starts shooting, they'll scatter and he'll only be able to get one or two of them. What he doesn't know is one of the wolves has figured out his weakness. His back is turned to this wolf, and the front of the truck is just low enough for the wolf to jump up and sprint to where he is. The wolf knocks him off the roof of the truck, knocking the rifle out of his hands. At this moment, a dog runs in out of nowhere. The dog gets in between Powell and the closest wolf, snarling viciously to protect this stranger. Powell struck his head on the ground when he fell off the truck, and he needs a minute to get his wits back. A second wolf immediately closes the gap on Powell. Powell spins to defend himself and lets out a yell of four-letter words describing how he will gut and eat that mother-effing wolf later. The moment Powell gets to his feet, the wolf grabs the dog from behind and starts dragging it towards his pack, shaking the smaller dog viciously, ripping large wounds in the dog's hindquarters. The dog cries out, knowing if the pack gets her, they will rip her apart and disembowel her and eat her while she's still alive. Powell plunges his knife into the wolf that grabbed her, stabbing it repeatedly. On his last strike, he twists the blade and tears it out of the wolf at a 90-degree angle, leaving a gaping hole in the dying animal, then kicking it in the head as a parting gift. Powell quickly sheathes his knife and draws his pistol and starts blasting every wolf sighted. Once the wolves retreat, Powell returns to the badly injured dog that just saved his life. He comforts the dog and says thank you to her in a way only a soldier would understand. Powell figures this dog must have belonged to someone who is dead now, and he reminds her of her old master. Powell gets out a can of med spray and treats her injuries. He tells her it's going to stop the bleeding and disinfect the wounds. You're going to love it. The dog sits still and accepts the treatment as if she understands. Powell picks up the badly injured dog as carefully as he can, trying not to hurt her. He carries her over to his truck and puts her on the hood so a wolf can't run up and grab her and drag her away. Powell then finishes off every last wolf still standing and shoots some of the dead ones over and over again, muttering four-letter words to himself as he shoots them. Powell then goes into the abandoned store to see if he can find anything useful, and bingo! He finds a can of dog food. He chuckles to himself as he looks at it to check the expiration date, knowing he doesn't even know what year it is. He opens the can of dog food and puts it under his nose, looking at the dog, and says, "Smells good to me." He says to the dog, "It'd sure suck if you died from this, after all we've been through." The dog eats it as fast as she can, as if it's the first food she's had in days. Once she's finished eating, she returns to his side. Powell says to the dog, "If you're smart enough to get in that truck, you can go with me. If not, I'm taking your guns and I'm leaving you here." He opened the door and she jumped right in. Powell fires up the truck and puts his foot to the floor, lighting up all four wheels, deliberately running over one of the dead wolves on his way out. Powell looks over at the dog and says, "That's going to leave a mark." And that's the end of the scene. And that is how Powell and Domino meet in the movie Bad Seeds Reap What You Sow. This is what Steve and Domino look like in real life, and they're actually very good friends. I would say Steve is one of Domino's favorite people in the whole world. We were already under production. We were already, working on the movie when Domino arrived. We found her through a shoot that we were doing. She had been greatly injured. Someone poured acid on her and stabbed her when she was 2 weeks old. And the whole crew fell in love with her. And there was another dog there that one of the other crew members took. And we took Domino back to Fort Lauderdale with us, and we said, we've got to write her into the movie. So this is what I figured out how to write. This is the scripting that I figured out how to justify where her wounds came from. It is a doomsday movie, and it is in the future, so it wouldn't really matter. She could just have all these wounds on her. But, it's kind of cool to see the backstory of how Powell meets Domino and how they become friends and why she protects him and goes on the adventures with him. So anyway, this is a behind-the-scenes look at Steve and Domino on the set of Bad Seeds Reap What You Sow.
Domino.